If I look down and say, stop, don't do that, my cat is on the same table and keeps trying to hit the mic. So if you hear me just randomly say, stop, don't do that, it's the cat.
Nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me money, though, so I'm happy about it.
Of course, sir. Yeah, everybody's got the good gear except me. I don't have a fancy mic. What's going on?
You have a fancy career. There you go.
We can do an introduction because it's been a second. Hey, welcome to Talkies. It's a podcast about film in Columbus, Georgia, and kind of Georgia and the Southeast as a whole. It's been a minute since we've put a couple episodes out because a lot of life has happened. So we're gonna push this episode out right after we record. So it should be out very, very soon, and then we'll push out the ones that we had recorded in the before times.
In the before times.
We'll put those out after that. I'm Jeff. Someone else introduce themselves?
Hi, I'm John Hauser.
Hi, John.
Hi, I'm Sarah Lynn, and I also almost wore my Star Wars shirt today, John. So
Oh,
I
tight,
didn't,
tight.
but
Yeah.
nice. I'm glad you picked up.
I have a shirt. I can go throw mine on real quick. My name's Travis Zariwny.
Yeah, so Travis has got an interesting story about being here. I'll let you tell it, but suddenly you are a filmmaker in Columbus, whether you want to be or not.
But it's all good with me. I'm cool. I'll go where the adventure takes me.
Yeah, tell us about yourself. Tell us why you're here and why you are still here in your life.
I was invited to Columbus, Georgia to make multiple Bruce Willis films as a production designer. One of my friends is a producer who I've worked with for like 20 years, and he 911 me to come out and help him on this project. And I said yes. I am a film director, but I'm a filmmaker. So I said yes. I came out to production design the film. We worked for 3 weeks prepping the movie. This all happened. And I just felt it was wise to not travel and just kind of stay grounded for April and May. And then I met you guys. I asked Bernie, my producer, for some actors, and somehow I met you guys. And then it just the potential was there, but then we're all sitting at home.
Yeah,
I know.
That's right. Well, at least we're making something right now.
Watch Cabin Fever, huh? My movie. That's the plug.
That's right.
There you go.
Was that the name of the film? You did a remake of that.
I did the reboot of Cabin Fever, the flesh-eating virus with the teenagers in the cabin. Eli Roth's movie. I remade it.
Do you mind talking about that? Like why and how and?
Dude, I'll talk about anything.
Was it? Did you have to do like weird stuff to get permission to remake it, or like what the hell is it to remake a film?
I made a $40,000 film in Portland, Oregon, with a couple of my friends using garden houses for rain.
Uh-huh.
And Cassian Elwes saw that project somehow magically and invited me down to talk with him. Cassian produced Dallas Buyers Club. More recently, Mudbound, which was Dee Reese's film that got super nominated for Academy Awards. Beautiful film. So anyway, he saw my movie, invited me down to LA. I met with him. He liked my work, and he offered me Cabin Fever because he had the rights to it with Eli, and it was going to expire in a year or something. And instead of going through this elaborate process, we just decided to they decided to reboot the film using the existing script, but with a different director, which I got, which was me.
Oh, okay.
That's cool. I've seen that happen. I've seen a friend of ours is a writer, and I've seen similar things happen where he'll come in and they'll be like, there's basically a script, but we need you to come in and either take the plot beats and move it to a different time of year, that kind of stuff, and then we're going to kind of roll with that. So that's interesting because was it hard to make, or I'm sure you've got some fun stories about it maybe?
Every film is hard to make. I think everybody in this room knows that. So by default, the answer is yes. Yeah. But it's also such an awesome experience that the difficulty is the pleasure, if that's a weird thing to say.
When we finally met in person before everything, you talked a little bit about how you worked with Sundance and doing the workshopping and things like that, and I think that would be really cool to talk about how you fell into that and what that purpose is, so that if there are other filmmakers listening that like they can look it up and investigate that. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It just depends on how far you want to go back. I saw Star Wars wanted to be in film. I got an internship
Hey.
at Panavision. Yeah, this brother. Yeah, on your
Right? Look at that.
Anyway, so you saw Star Wars, you were inspired, and then lots of things happened. What were they?
Yeah, a whole bunch of life happened, and then basically I got an internship at Panavision Cameras when they were still rolling with 35, and then I got onto a Hulk Hogan movie. On this Hulk Hogan movie, there was the grip department came up and said, we know a place that can use hardworking, cool people, and that was Sundance. So you have to get invited to the lab through kind of like it's not nepotism, but if like any one of you, if I recommended you, you could go kind of a thing. And then you apply and then you go. And the lab basically is 8 filmmakers from all over the world are invited to shoot 4 to 6 scenes from their script that they potentially or do have investment for. They're greenlit.
Very cool.
So we will workshop 4 to 6 scenes, whatever we can do, with 4 separate crews of like interns and professionals. Everybody's mixed together into this really cool pot of creative, like just no attitude. Up in Provo at Redford's ski resort. Everybody stays there. We all stay together. We all work together for I want to say it's like 6 weeks, but it was a long time. It's a lab. It's a creative lab. But I loved it and I did it for multiple years.
Very cool. So since you went as a filmmaker, but you also said there were like interns and other, so like if I was a grip or if I wanted to learn more, how do I get involved to like work on the workshops? Or like if I'm a college kid and I don't have any film credits or I'm just out of high school.
Super have to go and correct that. I was a second AC on this Hulk Hogan film. So I was a crew guy. I went as a camera dude. I got invited as a crew guy. And I was always a crew dude. And my second year, I got invited back as the art director for all the films.
Very cool. Okay.
So it's a combination of somebody you might know or you work in an environment, or it's even, I think you can apply. But again, applications are, just do it.
Yeah.
There's still 10 people that have to be picked. You could be one. I would highly recommend it. Highly recommend it.
Tell us about the first film you ever made, whether it was like you had a camcorder and you were like, 10, like the first time that you, Travis, ever picked up a camera and you made a thing.
I think it was called War Child. It was about this crazy guy, and I just was shooting my friends. We got a camera from community access. You have to go and train on these cameras and whatnot. Yeah. So it was an old clunky camera, community access camera, and I used that, and I just shot a bunch of random stuff, and that was actually my first thing.
Oh, cool.
But it never got finished. I actually ran into the VHS of the dailies a while back, and I was like, man, I should redo this. This is like now something.
Yeah.
Right.
But I do have the dailies of that, and it's just this weird, non-coherent story. I remember we had the soundstage for like 3 hours, and I spent literally 2.5 hours building this stupid set and only a half hour to make the movie. So I learned right there, build your set quick and then use more time to shoot. So that was
I'm curious about you are super into a genre that I as an audience member can't tap into, and you're super big, it seems like, into thrillers and horror and kind of scary movies that a lot of people love and I don't, and I want to learn, like, what's the attraction there for you?
It's hard for me to watch comedies, man.
Really?
It's like, to me, a comedy is like nothing's that funny in real life. And I think drama and horror is way more interesting. It's easier actually to make people cry than to scare them, I think. Like I can show a picture of an image of a child at the river with a flower and it'll make you cry. But I can have tons of monsters and nobody gets scared. So drama is easier, but more like, I think for me, I would love to do a drama. When Cassian asked me what I wanted to do next, and I said a family, I wrote this really cool live action, like Goonies kid film. And he said, how do you feel about horror? And I was like, fine, dude, I'll do whatever. Shit.
Right.
I don't care.
What is some of your like favorite horror movies that you've seen like recently? Or
Terrified.
Terrified.
It's not like
Terrified.
Terrifier with the clown. It's Terrified, dude. It's like this, like, I think it's a Italian or some kind of. I watched it with no subtitles in its native language, and it scared the hell out of me. It's about these people that live inside the walls of the house or an extra dimension, but there's a couple scenes in it that were so creatively the camera and the monster that I really got scared from. I loved that movie. And now too, I'm now exploring Tubi, and you can go on Amazon and just go once you have this, like, what other people liked and people also watched, it goes deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole of horror films. So I'm watching like I'm watching like C-level horror movies now.
Yeah,
like
I get
Tromaville.
you. Yeah.
But like even like dudes like two friends making a horror movie, they put it on Amazon and I'll watch it. But like for really good scary shit, dude, I mean, there's so many, I can't pick one. There's little nugget. The Flu, I saw The Flu, which was a Korean film, I think. High production value. It was made 2016, but literally you cough on somebody and they're dead in an hour. So
okay.
This radical, super high, like South Korea makes huge movies. China makes huge movies. So I'm really into these foreign horror films. I think Tag was really good. Have you seen Tag? Tag's like, I think it's, again, I don't know if it's South Korean or Japanese. It's a huge difference. But the Tag is about this invisible force that follows you around. It's brutal.
Nice. Are you? So I assume, are you familiar with the Criterion Collection?
Yes, I am. I've seen every film.
So I'm on this current kick of like watching a bunch of those now. So I've been introduced to like a couple of like Japanese like horror films that I've never even heard of. Like House. Have you familiar with House? Yeah, like that.
Criterion
that
Collection is, once you burn through that, you really have an eloquent understanding of like you have your Rolodex of knowledge expands. Those are just great films. I love them. That's really a really great way too to get seduced by, like, if you haven't been exposed to. Every single country makes films. Every single country. Norway, Sweden, Finland, they all have their filmmakers, and they're all beautiful, especially if you don't watch them dubbed.
Yeah.
Speaking of dubbed and expanding knowledge, our friend Daniel runs a horror pin company, enamel pins, like the people are really into. And he exposed me to this, I think it was an Italian horror movie, and every actor was kind of from a different country. And so what they did was every actor said the lines in their native language, and then when they released it overseas, they would then just, you know, they would have, I think that actor may have dubbed it into whatever the other language was, but there was no, it wasn't like the entire movie was in Italian, and for the American release you would dub it into English. It was, the entire movie was in whatever language they spoke, and then dubbed into the language that it was being released in, so that every version, the dubbing was inconsistent, and it was like a style choice. It was kind of cool.
Yes, that's I knew a woman that she did all the translation for anime, some like a Japanese anime, and literally this is when you see the man behind the curtain, or woman, doesn't matter who's behind the curtain or what's behind the curtain, is it takes the wind out of the sails, because she literally told me, she goes, sometimes she did Ghost in the Shell.
Oh yeah,
which is huge.
Yes.
So she did the Ghost in the Shell TV series for the United States audience, and she did all the translation. And she said half the time she was making up like shit because there was no literal translation.
Yeah.
So she's like, the phase plasma rifle is deuced by the second, it just crazy stuff.
Right.
And she made it up. And that's when I really kind of was like, man, I feel sorry for the filmmaker. I'm just going to watch your vision, undubbed.
Yeah.
The way it was. And if I can't understand the story, who cares? But a couple times watching it, I can learn the story from the visuals.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's a great experience too for a director or a filmmaker.
I had a similarly hard time with comic books because I would draw them, and I'd draw them on paper, and they were laid out in a certain way. In a comic, the layout is part of the story. But then I would go and adapt it into animation, and it was like, okay, so now I'm in this kind of framing, or my options are changing for a foreground object and a background object, and their weight and their importance, and the way you control pacing on a page is different than the way you control it on a screen. And how do you preserve the narrative pace and where you're trying to lead the audience focus-wise in what is essentially a fluid layout that sometimes moves and sometimes doesn't.
And you know what's exciting just listening to that, dude, is totally that's your art. The whole point of that's being the artist is you discovering how to make things happen and change and learn. And literally when you get a critique on your work, it's painful because no one's aware of how many choices are made, how long it takes, how much joy you're getting as an artist making those choices. And you even said earlier that in regards to the dubbing that of that multi-language film was that's the vision. That's the artist's vision. If you don't get it, it doesn't matter. It's your vision. So it's interesting that you had to relearn elements of pacing based on the individual platform you wanted to show your creativity on. Write that sentence down 10 times.
Well, because you're saying that people don't know how much work goes into it.
No!
Taking a step further, people kind of don't care either. I had to find a way to remove myself from it and be like, okay, what can this critique teach me? Like, preserve like the artistic stuff that you care about, but also I take the critiques as, did I deliver a clear story or not? You may not like it, but did you get it? It's like horror movies. I'll enjoy them. Like, this is a good movie. I get why it's not for me, but I get that it's a good movie. You know what I mean?
I do, but I'm at a level now where I honestly, because of the way the internet is now and the toxicity of comments and whatnot, like literally I challenged a YouTuber. I was like, dude, you didn't really like my movie? Why didn't you like it? And then he wrote back and said, because he gave a review on YouTube about one of my films. And I reached out to him. You can do that nowadays.
Yeah.
Call people out. And he goes, dude, I liked your movie, but I get more likes and clicks if I give a negative review. Again, dude, it's after a while, you just start invalidating shit. Like, okay, now I got this girl from Ghost in the Shell who's telling me she makes up the dialogue. Now I got this dude on YouTube who's telling me you get more likes by being a dick, making a thrashing. And it becomes invalid where critiques are great, but if you're not a fucking artist, I don't care. You can quote me. I literally, it's about my art now. I'm like literally self-preservation, my art. Like, I love to be by myself and do art and make movies. I super don't care if you don't like it.
That's awesome.
And I hate to be that way, but it's sort of...
But that's freeing in a way, too, right? It's freeing in that, like, if you love what you do and you believe in the story enough, it doesn't matter what people say or what obstacles get in your way. You're going to get it done because you believe in it, and it doesn't matter because you made a thing and you can be proud of it.
Like, I'm going to need to push this even a little bit further, and then I'm going to back off the negativity, is that nowadays, too, somebody literally can watch my film that I shot in anamorphic on radical cameras with tons of cool people on an iPhone or a 4K TV with the wrong settings, and it looks like a Telemundo show. And that's what they base their opinions on. People will watch a movie with an earpiece, and then their dog will start yelping, and they'll stop watching it. And they'll be like, oh, why did this happen? When you said they couldn't latch onto the story, it's because either A, their TV blinked off, or they went to the bathroom, or I don't know. It's like you have to sit in a theater and watch a film 3 or 4 times to even understand it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I believe that, if you're gonna be in this business, it's you gotta have like thick skin, because you're putting like your art and you're putting everything out there for people to see, and there's gonna be judgment and opinions and stuff.
But there's a difference, right? I think there's a difference between do you like it or not versus did I do what I can do to kind of get there? For example, I did an audiobook once and I got a review. Then the guy said, this guy sounds like an overweight nerd. Well, I don't like my feelings aren't hurt, but I go, oh, okay. And I got a review for this one thing and it was like, well, where's the story? And I'm like, well, it just wasn't for you, I guess. Whatever. No, whatever. It's like, where am I not being clear, and where can I get better versus like you're not gonna hurt my feelings. Like fuck that.
That's kind of how I went with whenever I was showing certain people the Stream It short. Mm-hmm. I was showing it to certain people. It's just like, all right, like, because I'm looking for both. Yeah, do you like it or not? But also, it's just kind of like, do you see what I was trying to put out there? You know what I mean? It's like I'm looking for more than just it was good. I'm looking for more. Different
than the note that you got from somebody, which was, I don't understand the stakes of this part. You're like, okay, that's a clarity thing.
That is helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And half those comments are knee-jerk things that people don't even like. One of the two of my greatest things I ever learned was take 15 minutes before making a decision on anything. Just like if I hear a comment, instead of getting angry, I'll just like take, even as a director, it works beautifully. If I can't have a crane, instead of flying out and going nuts and getting angry, I just take 15 minutes, think about it. I'll come up with a different solution, and it'll be a positive thing instead of just knee jerking. Like, I don't Twitter because it is absolutely useless.
Same.
To me.
No, I 100% agree.
Instant response that somebody writes and walks away from, but they're literally kicking you in the balls, not even knowing about it, thinking it's really fun. That to me is I don't even participate. And the second thing is artists is never fear the reader. So I can apply that to my filmmaking. Then I feel it liberates me. If I don't want to write about something because I'm scared what somebody's going to think, then that's crippling. It's an invisible force that stops you from truly being creative and getting your voice out there. And I think that everybody is like, the internet holds people back. They're slightly, but I don't give a fuck. Seriously, but I'm at that age, and you say tough skin. I don't want tough skin. I just want to do art, and that's it. I don't want to be tough. I want to be like,
you say your voice. You know, no one else can tell your story, can make your movie. You know what I mean? As many people can do things that are maybe like it, or we can tell the same or similar stories, but like no one's going to tell it with your voice and your point of view. So you kind of have a responsibility to do that. As far as like the criticism is like, well, this is how I see it, so this is how I'm going to tell it. This is how I'm going to make it.
Yes, please. That's like if it was that, if anybody took one thing away from this conversation, that would be it. Just like, dude, just do it. It's you, man. It's go for it.
I have a question. Travis, what is your, like, as artists, we always sometimes like have a base work of where we like to jump off of creatively, you know, even if that process changes or whatever. But what is your approach to creating a story or filmmaking in general? Like, what inspires you, and then how do you go from inspiration, like concept, to the, you know, to actually making a thing, from like concept to reality?
Persistence and motivation are two key elements, but the one thing for me now too, where the internet is a good thing, is I truly don't believe that you cannot write about what you don't experience. I've never killed anybody, and I've never flown in a spaceship. I've never drove in a tank, but I can research and study, which I love. And then when I'm on the internet, I'm looking at stuff, and stuff pops up, or a movie comes on, and one scene happens. That'll inspire me to go a whole different way. It's literally just staying not with pop culture, but on the fringe of pop culture. Pop culture burns out. It's like a fart in a bathtub. It's funny at first, but then it stinks. So then for me, I don't do pop culture. I do like fringe stuff. So I like to, like, I'm aware of it, but I like to study and research other things. So if I find a nugget that I really like, I wrote a story about this, like, this little kid. I wrote a story about a teenager who witnesses both of his parents commit suicide at different times, because I was seeing so much on Instagram of parents complaining about, not complaining, but parents going through suicide with their children, when I know kids that have lost parents to suicide. And I know too, I walked in on my friend who shot himself. So for me, when I wrote this story, it's called Ordinary Monsters. It literally was about how hard it is to be like this teenager who deals with both of their parents who are fucked up. Like, parents are fucked up. When you're a kid, you don't know what your parents are doing at all.
Yeah.
I think they're magical. Mine were great. I hope everybody else's were. But in this story, the parents are really messed up, and it's a dysfunctional family. So for me, I went and I researched a ton on Instagram. I learned about cutting, and like, Instagram's just huge. People bare their souls nowadays under false names. Like, they hide behind a moniker of a gamer tag or something, and they'll say anything they want. So I just glean information from the existing world to find stories that I actually am attracted to.
Very cool. Like, the process.
The murder and going into space thing. It's not necessarily about the murder and the going into space, but it's about, like, I think about space, it's about the feeling of whatever the feeling is, like being alone in a strange place, or having just lived through a really difficult thing that you felt like you had to do. It's the actions that get you to, well, how is the character feeling and dealing with it. And that's the thing that we can connect to, which is, oh, I may not have murdered someone or been into space, but I understand these feelings suddenly that this character is pulling.
Yeah, and then the other funnest part of the second half of that question is literally, like both of you had really good questions, is like the amount of movies that I constantly watch when I write and in my process of filmmaking, and I haven't really done it yet, but I try to. In the scripts that I've personally written that aren't involved with anybody, like Midnight Man, I had rules that I had to follow. Cabin Fever, I made alterations I had to follow. Intruder, I was at one location. But I really, when I watch all these movies, when I'm writing stuff, I like to not write what I've seen, which is like, what is it? How many ways can you kill somebody with a sword? I guess. I mean, we don't even have to talk about killing. You can just be like, what is new? What haven't you seen?
Yeah, artist has to have imagination.
Yeah. Is that the answer? Or
answer? I'm just pulling back and listening because I've been. There's
no right or wrong. No, but that I thought what you had to say was really like helpful and a good reminder too of not giving a fuck about what anybody else thinks and that research. Like that's just really. I mean, it's always nice to hear someone else also believe and feel these things, because sometimes you feel like you're in the tunnel by yourself of like, I can't, because I don't Twitter, and I'm really like, I don't do a lot of the social media, like I'm rarely on these days, so I don't know, I totally vibe with that.
Yeah, I also in January I stopped Instagramming for like a month, 2 months, and it was awesome. I loved it. I didn't miss it at all. It was whatever was whatever. And my Facebook was gone. I didn't care. I don't Twitter. If you literally get on these things, they're an absolutely massive waste of time. And it's really hard to glean any type of like substance from it. Even like TikTok, and I get it. It's great for kids who have it's an 8-second attention span. That's what we're down to nowadays. So it's hard to really. I mean, I make 1-minute videos for my Instagram, and I love them. I love doing it, but it keeps me creative, and because that's the process for me. It's like I love shooting stuff, and editing is super fun. And how can I get creative with whatever?
I like to just sort of check in as a way to remember. Because I was scrolling TikTok last night and I was like, oh, okay, what are kids doing? It's like, oh, they're feeling all the same things I felt when I was a kid. They seem to be, there's some of the details are different, but the insecurities are the same. The grappling with identity is the same.
That is a key point right there, dude. Like, none of that shit's new. People did this on YouTube, and then before that, people did it on the street,
and chat boxes and all of that stuff.
Exactly.
But the details, like where they're drawing value on, like what is important to them at a given moment, not the fleeting stuff, but like the things that are defining their generations as the things that defined our generations. Major events or certain points of view that seem to dominate. Like those come from somewhere, and they're reinforced by their community. And so I always think it's kind of interesting just to check in and be like, well, what the hell is important to you guys that are coming up right now that you're going to feel nostalgic about later, or that's going to affect how you view things later, including character archetypes that are important to you that were circulating that have a slightly different variation on the character archetypes that were important to me when I was growing up, and my dad, and that kind of stuff. Just, again, they're all very similar, but the specific shades and hues are sometimes different and interesting. And I, from curiosity standpoint, that's why I check those things out.
Everything is legit. I would never criticize anything. I mean, for me, I dropped out of grad school in political science because I realized that I was studying a regurgitation of events and issues from all the way from 1940, the same exact bullshit. The 7 problems just get moved on and on and on through every administration. So to me, it was like, oh my God, I can't. You read about people that spend 15 years and 20 years trying to solve this problem or fix this thing. And then as soon as one thing changes, and it all goes away or gets reverted.
Well, but that's also how they write their book. Not to be cynical, but sometimes it's, you study this thing and you niche down so hard so that you can become the authority on Russian snails in winter.
That's called a professor. And I've seen them. They have beautiful rows of books behind them, and they're all fantastic. But again, it doesn't do anything. This is why, for me, I was like, holy shit, I'm giving up on, I don't want to be a senator anymore. I'm going to follow my Star Wars dream. I'm going to go chase dragons and write about lasers, because that's how I want to spend my life, is with dragons and lasers, not with landmines. And I listen to people nowadays in politics, and in 3 days, they'll completely change an opinion or a moral ethic, which to me is amazing. Like, I have opinions and ethics that I've had since I was like 8 years old, and I've never changed them. These dudes, on a whim, it's like, when you talk about role models, oh my God, it's a talking chicken on TikTok that farts for 7 minutes. I mean, that's the role model.
But you also tap into like your kid self, and you go, okay, I get what part of that's funny. Okay, fine, I get it. I think for me, I'm trying to not calcify. Do you know what I mean? I'm trying to not just...
Oh, dude, I'm not jaded. I love it. I am, but I'm not jaded.
I was curious on like your process and how you write. I know you have certain screenwriters and stuff. Some write it from like they're writing a novel almost, and then some do notes and that kind of thing. I was just curious as to what's your process like on that.
I've seen a lot.
Does it change depending on?
No, I now am in a systematic process that I can write off of. I've graduated to that. I never did the notes on the wall, the Post-it notes. I never did like serious dude, I literally just sit down and write. I'll do a Venn diagram of like John drives the car explodes, an alien comes and grabs the car. Sarah comes in. Sarah doesn't like John. Sarah's an alien. So I'll do that kind of Venn diagram, and then I'll go in and figure out what happens on each individual scene. Sometimes I'll figure out the ending first, and then go toward the ending. But now I'm into a zone where this sounds horrible, John, but it literally I know that the first 10 pages have to be like mind-boggling. At page 3, I've got to have something happen. At page 7, I have to introduce a character. At page 15, that's 15 minutes. That's halfway into my first act, which is 30 pages. So your first act is 30 pages. Your second act is 30 pages. And then your third act is 30 pages for 92-page total of a 92-minute film. So I can break it down to... at page 50, a major character shift should happen, like a character should die or something massive. And again, at page 80. So I have a formula that I think once you know the formula, you can break it, but you have to stay in it.
Right.
If that makes sense.
I really appreciate even hearing that, because that's sort of what I'm doing now. Like, I would come up with an ending for something. I have no idea what the story is or anything, and it's just kind of like I'll work my way towards like the beginning, or just vice versa. Like I definitely.
There is no right method. The method is: are you having fun writing, and can you finish the product? That's the key. Yeah. And also,
and then a lot of
there's no such thing as writer's block. You're thinking.
Yeah. See, a lot of times for me, I find myself just kind of like doing like word vomiting. It's just kind of like whatever idea I have, I just like throw it like on the page, just put it all out there first, and then like depending on what it is, then I'll decipher it and make some sense of it. But just starting out with just that initial idea and just kind of just writing.
I would absolutely not read books on how to write a script. I would read a script. Go to Drew's Scriptorama and read scripts. And that's how you're going to learn how to do it.
What was that again?
Drew's Scriptorama.
Drew's Scriptorama. Okay, I got you.
Long-time listener, first-time commenter. Hi. Your thing, Travis, about going back and forth between I need to put some scaffolding up and then I'm just going to kind of work with it, makes me think of, I've heard people talk about writing scripts or writing anything, and you're either, and I don't particularly go with this, but you're either an architect or a gardener, where an architect like creates the waypoints and the plot structure and then writes the script, or the gardener writes the characters and sort of explores things and lets the plot develop from there. And I've always felt like it's fluid. It's just like, okay, what am I trying to get to? And okay, I want to do this, but really I just want to hang out with this character and just let this character just come out and then find out where to put him. And And within the same project, for me personally, it seems very fluid. Like you're plot driven, you're character driven, and you just flip depending on what's going on in the beginning.
I agree. I would literally change one word in that, and it's you're an architect and a gardener, not or. You're both. Yeah, because I don't like on Ordinary Monsters. I had no idea where I was going with it, and every time I went somewhere, I would immediately try to go the opposite direction by default, as an experiment.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like John, never fear the reader. And who told me this? It was just like you puke out the first draft.
Right.
It doesn't have to make sense. You just throw it up. And then you go back and you're like, okay, well, now this and that and this and that and that.
Yeah.
But, like sometimes when I write nonlinear and I'm just writing, this is why I now kind of figure out the ending first. Is like I'll write and it's super. This was like my first 2 scripts. It was like really slow at the beginning. And then I found when I got to the ending, I only had like 6 pages to be within the 92 mark, which is kind of where you want to be, like 100, 102, whatever. But I found that if I didn't know my ending, I would rush to it. I would try to figure out how to get to the ending. And I would only have 8 pages and it would just be like a disaster. Not really, but interesting.
No, that's cool. I mean, it's cool that you just try enough times, and like you've said, now you have it down for you what works, like without a doubt, like you know your own writing process. But like especially if you're a new writer, you have to figure it out. So I love the idea of just word vomit, like let it come out like violently and with your like instincts and what you're feeling, and then within that will be the nuggets, and just sift through, but just don't try to be perfect first fucking time around.
That delete button. I saw John or Jack Kerouac, I can't remember, or John sells some famous writers. It was in San Francisco, and it was all of his notes, and they had put them out in this like museum, and it was just handwritten notes. He's John Salinger. Did he write Catcher in the Rye?
J.D. Salinger.
J.D. Salinger, yeah.
I saw his notebook and his notes, and literally as a writer, hitting the delete button nowadays is such a travesty to me. I would think that every writer, please just throw up the script or your ideas and don't erase.
Yeah.
Because if you sit there and you're thinking about grammar and you're thinking about, that's why I say don't read a book on how to write a script, because you will immediately go to chapter 7. I'm supposed to have this, and this, and oh my God, my character is like, what's it called? The hero's journey, which is a famous book on.
Yeah, Campbell. Yeah.
Every writer reads it. But
well, Save the Cat was very popular for a while. Yeah,
but it doesn't. When I look at movies that are out nowadays, even Jordan Peele, dude, on Get Out, he said it. He's like, I had no idea. I go, this was a piece of shit to me. I had no idea what I was doing. And he admitted it, and not admitted it. He was just really honest about the fact that you don't know what movie's going to be good or what script is going to be good at any particular time in a given time period. For me as a filmmaker now, it's like, if you write something, please try to make that movie, because I have agents and managers and people that say, I called up my agent one time, and he's like, write something like Get Out. Write something like The Quiet Place. I'm like, dude, that's like telling me to buy Apple stock or Google.
Right.
You don't. Once you find out about it, it's too late.
Exactly.
It's got to come from you.
Right.
Yeah.
Once you want to make a movie like Quiet Place, which there was, Sandra Bullock did one, Stephen Tucci did one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I get it. The audience loves it or whatever, but the audience cries for original material, but Hollywood gives them what they liked. Okay, we like this one movie. Now they're going to make 19 like that.
Yeah.
So Get Out was the best example of that, dude. Was like literally the creator and the artist and the director and the writer had no idea. It was just zeitgeist and everything clicked. I mean, yes, it was a rad movie. I've seen it like 4 times. Love Jordan Peele. But even to him, his credit, it was like literally, to me, I pulled away from that experience was more cannon fodder, more proof that shit, just make whatever you want. You never know. You never know.
Well, it's exciting when you're doing something that makes you a little nervous that's new because there's no one to show you, how it should be done, how it could be done. And it's just kind of you walking in the forest with your instincts. And you're like, all right, I'm out here by myself, but I get the feeling that this is the right, whatever I'm making right now is the right thing. It's the right way to go. And I don't have any proof of that, any verification of that until it's done and I put it out and people like it or they don't. But if you feel...
Do you like it?
It's... Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, because I think having your instincts and honing your instincts is the best thing you can do for yourself as an artist, because it's the most organic forms. Like, I feel that I need to do this, then do it. You know what I mean? And I think that is the best way to move forward creatively, whatever it is that so many times we try to edit ourselves before we were like, no. As soon as you think it or feel it, or I feel like you should create it. It's the same thing with acting, right? Like, we always say, follow your instincts. Well, there's a reason for that. It's the same thing with like people who paint. They're like, it needs this. Like, there's something inside and I don't want to say animalistic, but that dwells within us that like wants to punch out, and like let it punch out. Anyway.
Yes.
Bam.
Like, what I'm getting is just like somebody would take away from all of these comments is, please follow your artistic dream regardless of what it is. I don't care what it is.
Hell yes.
Don't fear the internet and what's going to happen. Like, it's called, that is actually called artistic masturbation, is when you have a closet full of poems or a desk full of poems that you're too scared to give out and let people critique, or not even critique, but just read it to share your work. So yeah, you're a great artist. It's all in your garage, and that's fantastic. That's good too. But I think if it's because you fear what people are going to think about your art, then that's where my tears run.
Right, because then you don't get appreciated, because you said poems in a desk. So like, I think there's Emily Dickinson, but you want your art to be appreciated. Like, yes, well after you, but you also want to know while you're alive, like, you had this story to tell, and it means something, and it needs to be out there. So if you hide, like, how sad would it be to like just die without ever knowing? Did your art matter? If you just hold it in, then it's just for you. But like, we do art because there's something bigger than ourselves that we're just trying to figure out. I don't know.
There's so many
with less
different
talent put their shit out. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say there's so many like artists that I know that are afraid, for whatever reason, they're afraid to like put their stuff out. And like, I know like several people that's like that paints, and they paint like really, really freaking well. And for some reason, they keep it to themselves. And I'm always just like fighting with them, just like, yo, just make a page or do something. Just put your stuff out there. It's ridiculous.
People,
like, yeah, it's just ridiculous. Like, how set in their ways they can be, and just being like, no, like, I'm just going to paint this, or I'm just going to make this, and I'm just going to keep it for me. Which, I mean, it's okay, but I feel like there's always an aspect in a thing in those type of people where they are afraid to put their work out there, and it's just, I don't know, it's a shame. It is
a shame.
You don't know who's going to need that thing that you make.
Yeah.
No matter what it is. I mean, anything from like ridiculous reality TV to, drama or whatever. You don't know who's going to really need it. Because I went through a period, it was a very, very dark, bad period in my life. And there was this show that ABC ran for 2 seasons. It was called Better Off Ted. It was really smartly written, and it was comedy, and I really enjoyed it. But it was a thing. It was just this kind of light, fluffy show that had good dialogue, that was fun, that just pulled me out. And I mean, I had it on like repeat, and it pulled me out, and it inspired me to start writing again, and it got me out of a really rough time.
Awesome.
If you're sitting on a piece of something that you're making, it's not for you. It's for someone you don't know, because it could help them out in a really weird time in their life.
I super believe everything is like this giant karmatic stew of goofy stuff. So I believe in everything. If that made any sense, I can't figure that one out. But I totally do. I mean, there's these, yeah.
Is it harder, and I don't know if it's an American thing or what, do you think it's harder for artists to ever put their stuff out there because so much of perhaps American identity is tied into things are only valuable if there is a commercial potential for them?
I'm going to actually, I guess I can go
wherever you want.
Well, there's just so many ways. I mean, even as a writer, as a film director, that's what's so difficult is that, like, there is no right way or wrong way. There's no right thing to say, no wrong thing to say. It's just like, yes, that is a really good statement. I think for me is I never asked to be famous or for money, but I did ask to be a film director, and I got that. So, am I happy with it? Absolutely. To me, it fulfilled what I wanted to do as a child, always since Star Wars, dude. I walked out of Star Wars literally in a daze. My mom said I was like walking around in a daze for like 2 weeks, and I was 8. So that really impacted my life. And then I saw the Millennium Falcon made out of plywood, and some guys walking on it, and I'm like, people do this? You built that ship? So I to me, it all just beautifully came together in a moment where it was like, wow, actually, I lost my train of thought right there, but
I enjoyed what you said is that I didn't ask for money and I didn't ask for fame. I just asked to do the thing I wanted to do, and I got to do that. And like I think that's a fabulous, like, that's the nugget, right? Like do the thing that makes you happy, that you're called to do. And don't worry about the rest, right? Like, it's much better to be surrounded by people you love making stuff with, and you love making films with, and you love making art with, and you get to keep doing it for the rest of your life until, whatever happens next.
That's what no critic will ever understand, is that it's a year of my life with over 300 beautiful people doing something that's so fulfilling and fun. Like, I don't know what you guys do for a living. Anybody, I know everybody here, but if you drive a tractor, that's great, and I love it. But for me, this is what I love to do. And I think that when I read a critique, this is why it all blends back together. Some person who watched something that took me a year to make, and all the goodness and all the people that had helped and everything, watches it for 2 hours and writes for a half an hour. And that little thing is supposed to be a representation of my year of artistic work.
Art is your tractor. Ideas are your seed corn. And your produce are completed projects.
Yeah, man. And how many preconceived notions do we all come to the field with? I mean, like, somebody's mom could have died from alcohol. Your dad could have been killed in a car crash. So you watch my movie that has an alcoholic mom who kills her dad in a car crash, you're immediately going to hate the film. So, like, literally, this goes, you cannot write for any target audience. There is no such thing. There isn't even, I don't even think, genres anymore. Because now we fusion horror with drama, with anime, or whatever. We're all over the map. So it's a great time to be an artist, especially because there's no, like, for everybody, because the gear is there. I'm looking at 3 people in their houses with kick-ass gear. John's microphone is awesome. Like, I have a 4K phone. So it's a great time to be an artist, a filmmaker.
Exactly.
Except if you're a middle-aged white man. Absolutely.
You had your chance.
Yeah, we did, I guess, right? I was on the right side of the fence, though, damn it. I was with the Sundance crew. Every boss I ever had was a woman. I learned from my first ACs were all girls, women, that taught me how to be a camera assistant. So Michelle Slatter runs Sundance. Like, girls are powerful, Everybody's powerful. They just don't know it. So if you go to the right place, everything you think like is happening right now, it's like no one ever has to tell me not to hit puppies. I just never did.
Right.
So all this like pop culture shit, dude, welcome to the real world, I guess. I don't even know what to say, but like, don't hit girls. That's new. Don't sexually harass. That's not new to me, dude. That's like 101.
Yes.
But.
Well, no, but sometimes you go on sets and there's that like bro culture there, and you're like, oh, what is this? Like,
I've never seen it.
I have.
I've never seen the bro culture, dude. I mean, it's because I like literally in film crew, it was like, I worked with Sandy Sissel. I worked with like these huge female DPs and female directors. And as a production designer, like I would design movies for everybody, basically. That was my super was PDing. And I just got to work with the gamut because you're so close to the altar, the director altar, that you're like literally in the creative side like the right hand person of the director. So that relationship trumps everything. I hate to even use that word. I can just say that relationship invalidates all. It's just about creativity.
Yeah.
And how do I make your vision as the creative? How do I make that? And now as a director, I just want the coolest crew.
Yeah.
I don't care what you are. You just be cool. I don't give a shit.
Hey, John, what's on your brain?
Oh no, I was gonna ask everyone what is it that they're working on currently. I know we're on this lockdown. What have we been doing to get our minds off of things? I'll start with me. Like I've just been watching movies and coming up with just different concepts and stuff to write and everything, and just like outside of that. Yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing. Like I'm in the middle of watching. We were talking about horror movies earlier. I'm in the middle of watching The Exorcist right now. But like,
great one.
Yeah, like other than that, yeah. What's
will scare me by myself.
Yeah.
At night, if I'm always by myself. But if I'm watching that film, I can get uncomfortable. It's really well done.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really solid film.
It was so. My mom talks about when the first time she saw it, she like didn't sleep for a week because she saw it in theaters when it first came out, and I remember the only times I had seen it before was like when they showed it on like a television channel, so there was like commercials in, so they didn't get the through line. But I remember watching it in college, like the full version, and I was like, oh, I get it, yeah. It's good. You were saying, John?
No, it's crazy. Like, yeah, no. Like, I was just about to get into just like it's crazy. Like the horror movies that they made back then, a lot of them are scarier than what we got currently running today. We only got like maybe a handful of movies that's like actually scary. But back then, like I've seen a couple of stuff where I'm just sitting here just like, oh Jesus Christ, like
the Changeling
was different back then.
Watch the Changeling,
yeah,
with John C. Scott, or what's his face? The Changeling. Have you seen that?
I've
George
heard
C.
of it.
Scott.
I'm gonna write it down.
It's super awesome. That's an older one. All right, so before quarantine, I went to a Sherman-Williams and I bought this jacket, and I totally have been, and I bought some latex paint, and I'm making it 3-dimensional, and like this is I know you don't like horror, but this is a bullet wound. I like blew up a bunch of fireworks on here. Ah!
Is that what that thing you sent me? Because I was like, where did you get all those fireworks? That's awesome. That's rad.
I'm supposed to be writing, but I'm not. I'm just like, I just can't. I'm like doing everything I think the most interesting thing is that even during this quarantine, it's like I've been quarantined my whole life. I think I'm a writer. I'm always by myself.
Yeah.
So this isn't new. It's just longer.
Sarah and I both are obviously at home. We've been at home for 2 weeks before the thing happened because Springer had to shut down. They canceled their season. And it's been a really big thing. Yeah.
That was
so
a total
as
tease.
soon as
You just showed me all that. And then...
I know, and yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Well, that's how we feel too. We're like, okay, so we've spent, as soon as that happened, we're like, okay, well, this isn't going to get better anytime soon. So as soon as we're like, okay, the season's canceled, we started pulling gear and stuff and reconfiguring the house so that we can just start making stuff here, because that's where we're going to have to be making stuff for a while. So our little place upstairs where I'm at, we've totally redone, with the goal of setting it where we can just come in and we can just, like we're doing now, we can start recording stuff, we can start making stuff, we can start editing again. I kind of like to stand up when I edit, so I've got that worked out, and I'm animating again and drawing again and finding I'm trying to clear out the back catalog I have of edits that have to go out for work, but beyond that, I'm back in and I'm digging up scripts that I've been wanting to work on, and I'm writing those again. I'm starting to animate and just trying to kill all the resistance to making stuff. So it's you get up and you start making stuff.
Rad.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because I get real sad if I don't. So.
Same.
I started blowing up tanks in the backyard.
I saw.
I bought a bunch of
Those are
miniature
cool.
toys, and Georgia's got fireworks.
What do you?
So I built these really elaborate miniature sets, and with slow-mo, blew up all this. It's amazing. It looks great.
I mean, the video you sent was really great. I was like, that's a lot of fireworks. What were you saying, Travis? I'm sorry. Go on.
I was going to say I got hired to direct a fireman movie, which I'm super excited about. And I shot in Georgia. I shot Fire Station number 2. They were super cool. And I filmed a little sizzle reel and edited it together and sent it out. And the producers loved it and I actually got the job. So Columbus, Georgia Fireman, Firehouse 2.
Very cool.
But that's pushed now. That's totally pushed. That was supposed to go, June, July, and now it's like forever and ever.
I know everything is up in the air, and I mean it's so fascinating because on bigger productions, right? You have more crew and there's more people, but like what Jeff and I've been doing, Travis, I know what you've been doing is this like, oh well, you have your phone and there's people in your house. What can you make while you're in your house? You know what I mean? Like what can you do?
There's no damn people here.
I know. Well, you have your dog, your sweet, sweet dog. I was thinking about. I've been thinking about you a lot, and some other friends I know who don't have anybody, who like are alone because like they were traveling or whatever. And I was thinking about like if I was in that situation, how I personally would feel like my mind would start playing tricks on me. I have a very active imagination, a very active mind, and like, anxiety and all of that. And I don't know, I just started thinking about like, oh, that's an idea. Like if I was really, it doesn't even have to be like related to what's happening in real life, but like if I was stuck alone by myself for an extended amount of time, I don't know if I would be the same personally. Yeah. Anyway, that's all.
I think a lot of people are about to encounter that reality.
Which is sad because literally solitude is bliss. This is something I've done consistently. I mean, I when you're around other people, you can't access your own voice. Mm-hmm. So being alone as a writer for me and solitude is completely standard operating procedure. I'm very comfortable. This is all good for me. But I would also recommend solitude. I think that even in history, some of the best artists were either gave up money completely, so didn't work and just focused on their art as a writing, as in everything, or were super rich, and it's the availability of leisure time that ultimately has access to creativity. So leisure time equals creativity in an artist. And it's like you're forced to stay home. There's nowhere to go. So this is literally, and if you don't do any of your art, that's still fine too. But I think it's when I have to listen to other people talk, that means I'm not listening to myself, and that's not egotistical or narcissistic because I'm not telling you I'm.
No, I get what you mean. Yeah,
I just like listening to my voice. Mm-hmm. If that's
look, I'm an only child, so like I totally have had solitude, and I totally get that. If like sometimes you want to hear your own thoughts and 100%. I was talking about like if I knew I had to go somewhere and I didn't know the next time, because like the thing is when we put our as writers or whatever, when we go into isolation, we can always take ourselves out of isolation, right? We can have that choice. For me, it would be like if I knew I was going somewhere and I didn't know the next time I could take myself out of it, or I wouldn't know when the end was. That's, I think, what would mess with me. No, I enjoy my alone time, but it's, if it was in this circumstance and I was by myself and I didn't even have the cats, I wonder how I would be doing. So I hope if you're in that circumstance, you reach out and that you're okay. But I don't know, just me. I was just thinking about that and how that could be its own little horror movie.
I hear John makes sock puppets. Isn't that right, John? You got a bunch of little sock puppets. And you're just like, okay, John, it's time to watch some more Criterion collections. Okay,
that's definitely in my head. That's in my head. That's always constantly playing.
The sock puppets of the mind.
They come up by your shoulders and go, okay, John, well, I was thinking this today. Well, me too.
You want to watch a Grindhouse movie or a Criterion movie? I'm just like, I don't know.
Sure. Well, now that we've gotten to this point, and we're talking about what we're doing, we probably should bring it home. But before we
should also let Travis plug his work and his sites and stuff.
That's where we're going.
Well, there you go.
Hell yeah.
Holbrook. Good job.
Well, hey, we should, as a team, I'm trying to start the Quarantine Film Festival that we talked about. on Instagram, just having like you're home alone. And this has nothing to do. I know this is a very serious time, and I know that the world is super struggling. But I do think that if I'm going to apply my experience to everybody else, would be like, I'm stuck at home. I don't want to just sit in a corner and sulk. I want to be creative. So I worked with some local, actually U2, and then Chad over at Oddities here in Columbus to start a quarantine film festival where you shoot a 3-minute film of any genre. I think, and this whole conversation literally was, and I get a lot of questions like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to shoot, I'm not a professional. It's like, fuck, dude, everybody makes,
just do it.
Just do it. Yeah, please, even if it's Terrence Malick has a shot in one of his feature films of a coffee cup for 20 minutes. I don't know if anybody knows what that reference is, but it means that he really believes in his art.
Yeah.
So everybody is an artist and everybody is a filmmaker. So
do it.
Is there somewhere we can send people to
I've been trying. I need your help. I don't know how to create the Facebook page.
Oh.
Everybody can send their stuff.
We got
I'll
you.
pay you.
Okay, got it.
I have the idea, and I made some Instagram posts, but I have no idea how to link everything together in like a really like an administrative way. So if anybody can help administratively, I would love it.
Okay, cool.
Well, we'll create a link. Whatever that link is, we'll put into the show notes of this episode. And
the only thing I had was hashtag QFF 2020, which is hashtag Quarantine Film Festival 2020.
Right. So you can.
But there's prizes, and I'm going to give this jacket away as first prize.
Oh wow, that's rad! You gotta
I'll give away a Horcrux that I have somewhere.
But that's the only plug. I guess I have Instagram, but that's it.
Right.
And you know what? Join if you want. I don't care.
Would you? I know you don't care. Could we put your IMDb link in so people can see like what you've done and who you are, our listeners, just to be like, yeah.
Please put all that stuff in. I know it's important, but I am not the guy.
Creative nihilism.
Leave a like and love and subscribe. I don't really. That does nothing.
Hit that bell, dog.
I have a couple trailers I made. If you can pirate my Instagram, make I have trailers or sizzles for the Quarantine Film Festival.
Okay, if we can't pirate it, then I'll just ask you to text it to us or whatever, because we have some of the videos that you sent, so I know we can pull those.
Yes, sir. Very good. This is super fun. Thanks for inviting me. It was good meeting everybody.
All right, dude.
Let me know if you need me to send you any links or whatever. It was super had fun.
Absolutely.
Go for it. Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Right, bye.
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 See you later, John.
Bye.
That was cool.
That was cool. All right, I'm hanging up now.
All right, hanging up.